Welcome to Rewriting Real Estate, Millionaire Moves and Modern Tactics with your host, Kimberly Falker, a coach, mentor and strategist for agents who are ready to scale smarter. On this show, you'll learn from high-performing agents who are building their empires with innovation, intention and no apologies. Whether you're an experienced agent stuck at a plateau or a rising star ready to fast-track your success, this podcast gives you the real-world tactics, mindset shifts, and lessons learned from those rewriting the rules.
Hi, and welcome back to Rewriting Real Estate. Today, I'm so honored to be interviewing Noelle Nielsen, who comes out of Minnesota. She has just got an amazing story behind her videos, which are so unique and compelling, and also how she just kind of makes magic in real estate by inviting others to participate in fun events. So let's dive into our interview with Noelle. Hi, Noelle. I'm so glad that we're finally connecting. But as the audience knows, the premise of the show is to highlight agents that are doing amazing things in real estate through non-obvious ways. And the way in which I ever first met you, which has been a few years now, was discovering some of your videos. You've got a very creative mind, and I love that. And I found you just through perusing different videos and found that the series that I got hooked on when I first started watching you was called Realtor Boy. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear a little bit of the why behind it. And it's such an unusual idea, and I really want to make sure that anybody that watches this links in to see that, because it's so creative and you're way ahead of your game in the world of videos. So go ahead and then we'll go into some of your background. I don't always like to do it in numerical or like logical order, but let's dive into how I found you, and then we'll get into a little bit more of who you are.
Yeah, sure. It's funny, even just yesterday, I was on a Zoom call, and it was a large Zoom call. There was 200 agents on this Zoom call, and they were talking about video ideas. And somebody wrote in the comments, "Oh, Noelle Nielsen, you should have Realtor Boy do this." And it has been a long time since I have filmed.
And he's no longer a boy, is he?
He's a realtor teen now. He is 14. And it's funny because I started those videos 10 years ago when he was 4 years old. And that's how effective those videos have been and were for me, is that people are still talking about them. People still remember them, and they still want to know, what is Realtor Boy doing? And so the reality is that when I first got licensed, I was a young mom, as many agents find themselves to be in this position. I had just had my third baby. My oldest wasn't quite 3, and we were living in it. And I got my real estate license initially just because I wanted to buy and sell my own properties. And it's funny because I started realizing that I actually liked selling real estate, and I wanted to try doing it as part of my career. And so I went out and was doing showings and picking up listings. And in my background, I also was a professional wedding photographer and videographer. And I started trying to figure out, how could I showcase these listings without being on video myself? Because I did not want to be in front of the camera. I was so used to being behind it. And it's funny for people that know me now, because they're like, it was a no-brainer that you would be on video. But for me at that time, that was not a no-brainer. I was not used to it. I didn't like being in front of the camera. And so I figured, I've got this kid who's pretty clever, and the stuff that would come out of his mouth, like, I could never predict exactly what he was going to say. And so I had this old red suit that my mother-in-law had saved from my husband Seth's childhood. And she gave it to me thinking maybe this would be something that Winston would look good in. And we put it on him for Easter or something. And I remember putting it on him, and the idea just came to me of, what if I had him tour these homes?
So creative.
And so I had a listing. It was a family listing. So they were open to whatever marketing ideas I had. And I'm like, hey, would you guys mind if I brought Winston over and had him show this house like he's a realtor, and I'm going to call him Realtor Boy? And that's really how it started. And so we put him in this little red suit, and he went in. It was a luxury home, went into this luxury home, toured it, And he had a few classic lines that he would say in these videos. And then at the end, he would say, and if you're looking to buy or sell, call my mom. And it like took off. It was a hit. People at that stage, still 10 years ago, video was still not a really big thing yet in real estate. And so then I started getting him his own business cards, and it was him on the front in this red suit. He always wore the red suit, and it had his Realtor Boy logo. And then on the back side, the card would say, hey, and if you're looking to buy or sell, call my mom. And it had my phone number on it. And one day, I'll never forget it. We were at church, and he was in the church nursery. He was still in the nursery. And we went to go pick him up.
Barely out of diapers.
Right. All the parents were standing around with his business cards because as the parents, we were late to pick him up. And as the parents were coming to pick up their kids, he was standing there behind the little shelf holding out. He had brought his business cards unbeknownst to us to church. And he was standing there giving every parent that was coming to pick up their kids a business card. And honestly, I got so much business out of that.
So funny. You might need to rent a little 4-year-old now.
I know. I do have some ideas. He would love to be more involved again. And it's funny because having a child participate in your business so early on really does give them a different worldview of how do we pay for things? What are we thinking about? Why are we thinking about? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about it? And he's a little entrepreneur now.
That's so great. I love that.
Yeah.
So then transitioning out of there, what kind of made that theme or that series stop?
Just getting busy with other stuff. So as I was doing that series, I started introducing other ideas, other concepts into the marketing that we were doing. That worked so well for me that my business really blew up and I needed to start a team. And I'll never forget how we announced starting a team. At the time, I was at a Remax and we had a dumpster outside because they were renovating and expanding. And so I put him inside the dumpster, like we brought a ladder. He climbed up, went in the dumpster, and popped out of this dumpster and said, hey, you're probably wondering why I'm in a dumpster. Because we're growing. Do you hear that? We're growing. And I made the announcement that I was starting a team. And that series was so successful that I had an Insta team. That's what I call it.
Wow.
I had 10 agents. Within 6 months, I had 10 agents on my team. I had no idea what I was doing. You fake it till you make it in this business. And so many people are just not willing to go out on a limb and try things and get creative. And for us, it worked. It took off. And so as I had all these agents coming in on the team, we started new series. And so I started showcasing the agents that were in my group, the agents that had joined us, because I still didn't want to be on camera all by myself all the time. But I also started doing this series. I don't know if you remember, but it was called Bright Bits. And it was back when my team was called Bright Birch. And I started doing this series explaining different things that were going on or explaining different things about real estate, but they were always funny or off the wall. Because my thought is, in my background, similar to you, I am an attorney by trade. And I always said I did not leave being a lawyer to be super serious. And I think so many times in real estate, agents take themselves way too seriously. They take themselves way too seriously. And if I couldn't have fun being in this business, then I didn't want to do it. And so I started showing things that we were doing around the office and things that we were doing for fun and things that we were doing as a team. And it was really strategic in that I wanted my audience or my followers, which at that time, everything was on Facebook, to feel like they knew my team. So that if I had a client that I couldn't help properly service and one of my teammates showed up, they felt like they already knew them. And it worked really well. It worked so well that we ended up outgrowing our space at that brokerage. And I opened up my own brokerage because it just kept growing. Like everything that we were doing, it just was working really well. And it's grown into what you see me doing today, which it's just everything that I've ever worked toward has always been toward growth. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. That's the saying. And so everything that I work on, whether it's marketing or just things behind the scenes, it's got to have, for me to stay excited about it, it has to have some kind of a growth element to it.
That makes sense. So you, quickly going back, you mentioned that you were an attorney and then a professional photographer, and then got into real estate because you just want to buy and sell your own thing. Why did you leave law to go in photography?
Oh, and it's one of those things where everybody thought we were crazy at that stage. So my husband and I met in law school. We're both lawyers, and we tend to do everything together. Like, the people that know us really well know that if I'm working on something, Seth is 100% behind the scenes helping. And during law school, I just needed a creative outlet. I was working at a law firm, and law is not as exciting as people think it is, right? It's a lot of it is drafting paperwork and sitting behind a computer or sitting in the books and reading. And for some people, that is very exciting. For me, I needed more people in my life. And so as a creative outlet, after we had gotten married, we were joking around that, oh, we could photograph weddings. Like, we could have done that. And so I went and
Would
got
have been a much cheaper start.
Exactly. I went and got a camera and started messing around with it and asking some of my friends if they would pose for me for photo shoots. And turned out I was actually really good at it.
That's
and
fun.
I started getting hired by my fellow law students and my friends that were in that world. And I started getting hired to photograph luxury events, really luxury weddings. And it turned out that once I graduated and I was practicing law full time, I was like moonlighting doing this photography. Like, I was going and shooting engagement shoots in the afternoons and evenings and shooting weddings on the weekends. And then I was pulling all-nighters to get these weddings edited, because that was before AI, that was before any editing help assistance. Everything was all hand touched every photo. And I'll never forget going in to write briefs at the law office and being so tired from like being up all night the night before editing that I could hardly stay awake. And I was making more from my photography business than I was as an attorney. And so we just got to this point where my husband was like, "This is ridiculous. Why are you doing both these things? Your passion is around creating. Why don't you just go try it? You could always come back to practice law."
That's true.
And so we made the decision that I was going to go be an entrepreneur, and there's been no looking back. Yep.
So as your team grew at RE/MAX, you wound up going independent. And from there, you wound up realizing that being the broker owner and everything else, what's the saying goes about the cook, the bottle washer and cook, you're doing everything. You wound up making a switch to a different brokerage. And where is your video kind of style from there gone after leaving your independent and then joining?
Cloud. It's funny because those videos were so effective that I call it a ripple effect, right? Like, the ripple effect is still happening to this day from making so many videos so early on, that I don't even make as much content currently. That is going to be changing, but currently I don't even make content like I used to, because I've been able to focus on other things. And I think people just think, okay, once I get on this bandwagon or this hamster wheel of making content, I'll never be able to get off of it. Right. And the reality is, no, if you're really effective with your content and you make content that stands out, you should be able to ride those waves and take breaks, and sometimes take even long breaks. I've taken a year sabbatical from being on social media, and I'm able to come right back. And that's the thing is, once you get really good at making effective content where people recognize you for that thing, or you're good at branding yourself with things. And it's funny, when I have this conversation with people lately, they're like, "What do you mean? I see you all the time. I see you, you're taking a break. I see you on social media all the time. I don't know what you're talking about." And for the people that know me really well, they'll know that I'm taking a break. But for the people that don't, they'll still see me showing up in other people's content. They'll see me on stories. They'll see, I'll still post a couple times a month, really.
Right,
It's
right.
ridiculous, but they think that I'm still on all the time. And that's the algorithm right now. The
True.
algorithm does not show us what it used to show us. Things are different than they used to be with posting. And so now for me, I have never been a Gary V. Hey, you have to post 12 pieces of content a day, every single day. To me, I would much rather see somebody post one super effective post per week and not have this content overwhelm. And that's how I've always done things. If the whole crowd is running over here, you're probably going to see me like over in that direction, running all by myself. Because if everybody is doing one thing one way, I am going to go and do the exact opposite of it. And that is just my nature. That's my personality. You're laughing because you know that about me. And so we moved our brokerage over to a cloud-based model because at that time, I quickly realized that my growth within a small independent brokerage type of model was limited to that. I couldn't even get the guy who is to this day now my current business partner. He was at a Coldwell office back then. I couldn't get him to consider coming into my small independent brokerage. Like he wanted nothing to do with that. We were just laughing about this yesterday. I couldn't get him to make a move. But then when I moved into a cloud-based model that had more opportunity, more growth, more technology, more trainings, more everything, he quickly decided to join me at that model. And now we've been partnered together ever since. And it's stuff like that, being able to partner with people like yourself around the country. And when you put out so much video content that people love and enjoy, and you're in real estate, what happens is you also attract other agents and other real estate professionals to end up watching and admiring your content. In fact, it's such a difficult thing that some of my fellow realtor agents that are great at posting content and they're trying to do it from a marketing, I'm picking up listings, I'm picking up business standpoint, they struggle because agents come in and follow their channels and then it messes up their algorithm for who's seeing the content.
For buyers and sellers, yeah.
That's right. And
because it's so entertaining and it's our industry, so it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, because realtors want to follow other realtors to get ideas, right?
Yeah.
And so one of my girlfriends, Katie Day, who runs this channel she started a channel called Houston Unlock. And she started this new style of channel for local people so that she could pick up clients. And now my business partner, Darren, the Minnesōtan, is doing it here in Minnesota, having great success. But the same exact thing happens is that all these realtors see it and then they start following it because they want ideas and it messes up the algorithm. But when you're making great content as a real estate agent, just naturally other realtors want to see what you're doing and they want to follow you. And so back when I started doing that, 2017 to 2021 timeframe, when real estate video was just really starting to take off, I picked up all these realtors that were following me. And the only way to be able to partner with them efficiently was at a cloud-based model. And so it opened up this opportunity again for growth where I could grow and actually help them and we could all be aligned with each other and be incentivized to grow together.
Yeah, because somebody could watch your videos and really admire your creativity and your style and your enthusiasm, just your creative, quirky self in a good way. But they might live in California and you still can be partners, which is a unique method that I had never really heard of before I met you, which wound up turning into a unique experience. I'm curious, your creative process, because I know that ideas come to you, but like even back to Realtor Boy, because a lot of times agents, including myself, try to complicate things too much. Okay, I don't have the professional photography background. I don't have this. And so it's like that comparison that puts us into a mode of being completely paralyzed or excuse making and we don't move forward. So the process, once you realize Realtor Boy was a fun idea, Did you have a professional videographer, or what was your process to make
Yeah,
other agents?
that Realtor Boy really started around the 2016, 2017 timeframe. And at that time, the iPhone was not what
Not
it is
good.
right now. Like it was not what it is now. And so the process back then looked a whole lot different than the process
Probably more
could look.
complicated.
Oh, yes. Versus how it could look for anybody now. Like no one has an excuse anymore because everyone can be a professional with the iPhones that we have, especially the latest iPhone, which I don't even have yet, but I know you have it now.
I just got, it's quite amazing.
I'm
So
gonna be
if
on
you
your
were to do
case.
Realtor Boy today, would you just
Yeah.
use the phone?
Absolutely. I would use the phone with a little tripod, and then I would just edit in CapCut. CapCut or Instagram are so easy to use. Back then, I had to learn Adobe Premiere, and which I enjoy. And of course, professional videographers still use that stuff. But the other thing that is different now too, which was still not really a thing, there were no professional videographers for realtors.
Good point.
10 years ago. Whereas now we have got professional videographers like pounding on people's doors asking to make real estate content. Like when people now are going to school for videography, which people can go to school for that, one of the professions that the colleges or the tech schools are pushing out on these videographers is focusing on real estate. They are being trained to do that now.
Because it's got so creative too.
That's right. Yeah. And that was not a thing 10 years ago. You couldn't just go out and hire a videographer. I ended up doing that. I ended up, once the videos were taken
Unknown caller.
off,
I tried to turn that off too.
we had a discussion before this podcast started of how she has the new iPhone. The new iPhone
There's
is
no
so new.
slippy thing. I put on airplane mode.
You probably just have to say, hey, Siri,
turn off my
volume
phone.
up.
I could shut down my phone too.
Back then, the video process was just so much different than it is now. Like now I can just tell people, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
Back
then there was an excuse. Now with AI, if you're not creative in brain, then like chat, throw me an audacious video idea. There's really no excuse.
The tools we have at our fingertips right now are game-changing tools. And for people that never had a creative bone in their body, literally all they need to do is go in and prompt Chat GPT, and Chat is going to give them such great ideas.
Right.
I've been
diving into Sora app. Have you played with that at all?
I haven't. I haven't messed around with it a ton.
But oh my gosh, it takes nothing to get it. Like you just have to do a little video thing and then feed it a script that it gives you. And then it really looks quite a lot like you. And so I've been going down the rabbit hole, and and it makes the videos from a prompt that you give it. And you have to be a little bit specific, but also not too specific, because then it gets creative. And so I have me as an agent enter into show a luxury waterfront property here in Tampa Bay, Florida, riding on an alligator, and then riding on an octopus, riding on a manatee, riding on a dolphin. It's hilarious. And then I did another one where it's have me show a luxury waterfront property, but singing an opera. It's like, I posted it on my story, and one of my friends calls me. She goes, "Have you been taking singing lessons?"
I missed this. Oh, shoot.
I'll have to send them to you. But it's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, one of my girlfriends just said, you should start a Monday series where you just do, because you can make them very audacious. I had another one of it, me flying on a sea monkey. But the funny thing is, the reality of how it looks with me is pretty decent. Like you can tell, but it's not so obvious to the naked eye that doesn't really know about Sora. It's a fun app, but you have to be invited to join it. So
you do?
Yeah. So it's kind of like Clubhouse. Back in the day with Clubhouse, how you had to get an invitation. I'm sure it's changing, but I'll send you an invitation. I've got some.
Send me an invitation, because I already have a bunch of ideas of things that I could do with it. And you asked me that, like, how does my brain come up with ideas? I wish I knew. Well, one of the things that I tell people is, if you don't give your brain quiet thinking space. I talk about this a lot for people that have been in my groups and know me well. I encourage people to do this all the time, but I start my days very early. I'm up at 5 pretty much every day of the week. And I am in quiet time usually for the first 2 hours of my day. And I know that's not realistic for everyone, but I have to have that time.
Yeah.
And it helps that my kids are a little older now. When they were very young, this might not have been as realistic. But I've always built quiet time into my day. And that quiet time allows my brain creative thinking space. And sometimes the ideas don't fire until later in the day. But I think even just starting your brain, turning it on, and almost treating your brain like your brain is Chat GPT and prompting your brain with some ideas, right? Like you prompt your brain with ideas of, okay, these are the things I'm working on. This is what I need creative ideas on. Start thinking about this, brain. And that sounds dumb, but like when you do that, then your subconscious is going to be thinking about that stuff throughout the day.
And that's why ideas pop in when a person's in the shower. But if they've given them their brain that space, then when you have those moments, things pop in, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of my ideas are just too crazy. They're too off the wall. They're too out there. If I had posted all the ideas I've had in my life at the brokerage I'm at, I have a sponsor and I've messaged, he is one of the most well-known real estate video gurus in the world, Brad McCallum. And I'll message Brad about the ideas I have sometimes. And Brad is
shut you down.
No, you can't post that. You can't post that.
One of my favorite, it's not a full series, but you've done enough of them that cracks me up. It just cracks me up. It's the little hands.
Oh, my tiny hands. I have them with me, actually. They're in my backpack. I bring them with me everywhere. Because
just in case.
You never know when you're going to need a pair of tiny hands.
Where did you even get them? Because wasn't that a Saturday Night Live thing?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I know why I had them. Okay. In Saturday Night Live, I used to use SNL as a prompt for my brain to think about real estate ideas. So I would go in and I'd watch old SNL videos that made me laugh. Like my goal with my videos was always just to make people laugh. Like very rarely were they serious. They were always very funny. They were usually very self-deprecating. And I just enjoyed it. And I had this huge new construction home that was just like sitting there. It was not selling. The traffic was low. Nothing was happening. I was bored out of my mind I had died to get this new construction thing. And then I realized, oh, new construction is not all it's cracked up to be. Like if you're an agent selling new construction, you're just sitting in these houses, oftentimes bored out of your mind. And so I was trying to think of ideas that I could do to show this huge house. And so I'm like, what if I had an ironic pair of tiny hands to show how huge this house is? And so I went around this house with these tiny hands, just like showing it. And at that time, I drank a lot of Diet Coke. Everybody knew that I drank Diet Coke. I had Diet Coke in all my videos. And so I had this Diet Coke in the kitchen and I was trying to open it with my tiny hands. And it's just like a way to show these houses without it being about house.
Yeah.
Right. And for some reason, it was so unexpected that people just remembered it. And so then the tiny hands, they still show up all the time. And that's one of those things. I probably posted that first video in 2016, 2017. And people still ask about the tiny hands.
And you did Darren. You did one with Darren with tiny hands, right?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. So when you find something that works, double down, right?
Tip it in.
Yeah.
And another one of my favorites was you playing the piano at your listing, talking about why.
Yeah. Yes. And that was before we had voice over AI. So it was me actually singing.
But you actually can sing and play the piano.
I can. Yes. And I rewrote a song.
That one.
Yeah, buy something.
You're giving up on me or something.
I'm giving up on you. Yeah.
Rough Darby.
Yep.
The phone. So professional. My editors can take that out, I'm sure, anyway. Do you have a favorite video that you've done?
That's a tough question. I think the ones that I'm the most proud of are all of mine that had me cloned in the video, where it was 3 of me talking to myself. And it was my, you would remember it if you saw it. It's one there where I'm in a conference room, and there's 3 of me sitting in this room talking to myself, me talking to me about marketing ideas. And the concept behind it was to show all the different roles that I was playing. I was a broker, I was a realtor, I was a marketer, and we all had our own ideas of what we should do in these videos. And so it would be me talking about brainstorming these ideas. And then all of a sudden the idea starts playing out.
Oh, that's cool.
And so in order to make these videos, we had to do a cut of me as the broker, a cut of me as the realtor, a cut of me as the marketer. Then we had to go to the scene and video me being in the scene. And so one of these scenes was very elaborate of me like going to ride horses. And then another scene was me running with dogs, because the idea was run with the big dogs. And then another one was me in the woods pouring a can. It was water in this gasoline can, but it was me pouring gasoline on myself because I was going to light it up. That was controversial. I got some hate on that. And that's the other thing. Somebody else that is so creative and does post controversial stuff. His name is Bob Tompkins. And Bob and I brainstorm video ideas all the time together because our brains, unfortunately, are very similar. Please never repeat that if you are listening to this. But there is a few of us that are very creative thinkers on marketing. And that initial concept of me doing that came from an iTunes commercial. It was a commercial for Apple for iTunes. And a lot of times, some of the best ideas I've had have come from me watching other marketers and other marketing things outside of real estate, and then thinking, how could I take that and apply that to whatever it is I'm working on?
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's so funny. And then another controversial one I know that you've done is the bathtub one.
That was the video that put me on the map. And that was, again, in that new construction home. And it was April Fool's Day. And I love April Fool's Day. And I had this idea. I would wear, this was back when off the shoulder shirts were still very popular, and I would wear them all the time. And so I had this off the shoulder shirt on, and I went and sat in this master bathtub saying, hey, have you ever wondered what one of these master bathrooms would look like? Would you like a tour of this master bathroom? And then I stood up fully clothed. And I'm like, well, let me show you around. And I'm very conservative in my life, very conservative in my nature. And I think it was just so unexpected. Yes. It was shocking to my audience at that time for me to even give the illusion of, and there was not, it was literally like my neck, just like you couldn't really see anything. That it was just so unexpected and hilarious at the same time. And it was 5 seconds of me asking if people wanted this to work. And what happened with that is one of these guys that ran a very large real estate Facebook page, his name was Tristan Almada from Lab Coat Agents. He saw it and laughed so hard and reached out to talk to me about my video. And that relationship, just from hosting that one video, did amazing things for my career. And I started a show then, a weekly show on viral videos every week on that huge Facebook platform, just to help other realtors think about marketing ideas and think about being creative and get outside the box.
I love that. So outside of all your creativity and such, another thing that I know you so well to be so great at is creating an invite culture. I don't know exactly the right definition, but like an invite culture whereby, and you don't even care, broker agnostic, it's not about the brokerage, but you're just so good at introducing agents to what makes real estate more fun and more unique is by inviting people, other agents, to events. And I think that's what you're really good at is invite. You saw how you did it. So your creativity with building your team so quickly. It was your creativity and your unique, audacious way of doing things that makes people want to hang. But I think that probably takes more, not work, but it takes more effort than people realize to get people to events. Because most people say, I'm going to buy a ticket, I'll tell a couple friends, but you're more relentless in a positive way. You don't want to miss this. You've even done it with me. You're like, you need to be at this one. I'm like, why? Just because you need to. Don't ask questions. So I think that's a unique skill set, but talk a little bit how other agents might be able to, even in a minor way, pick up on some of that energy and why it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's funny. I've never introduced this topic this way before, but I have the gift of evangelism. And you know what evangelism is, can be used for many things. But like when I get very excited about something or I get very passionate about something, I cannot help but share that thing. Right. And it is just in my nature to be that way. And part of that is coming from a place of empathy or sympathy for realtors and for the people that I'm trying to help reach of, hey, real estate is so lonely.
It's become so lonely since I was licensed in 2004 and it was a very social scene back then, but it is very lonely and you do get Zoom fatigue. Even though that's very community focused and I do love my Zoom calls that I am a part of, the masterminds and such, but you're still like turning off your computer and going to your own little space by yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah. Even for me, even in the days that I was at Remax, and it was still the office culture 10 years ago where everybody wanted an office, everybody wanted an office space. This was before COVID. Even in those days, though, I experienced loneliness because the high producers that I wanted to network with and talk to, they were busy. They'd come in.
And they're also competitive too.
And they doubted everything that I was doing at that time, right? They thought I was a psycho and I was... My broker from those days said to me, video is a passing fad. It is never going to work. It's never going to take off. You're wasting your time. Story for another day. But like everything that I was doing, nobody understood it. It was very misunderstood. There was a lot of jealousy around the success that I was having. And then when that happens, it becomes very lonely and it can feel like you're in high school, right? Where you're the cool kid or you're trying to hang out with the cool kids and you're the nerd getting shoved in the locker or whatever. They don't want to work with you. They don't want to come to your open houses. They don't want you to come into their office. And so to me,
they don't want to share the secrets, which is so silly because there are no secrets.
Exactly. And the reality is that you can give away all your secrets. Most people are never going to do them.
Dating, they choose who they want to work with. So you could do the exact same thing and two different people would be attracted to two different people for different reasons.
And I've always just felt like it's easier, speaking of attractiveness, like it's easier to attract to something bigger than yourself, right? And so when I was trying to grow my first team, I was trying to attract to a culture that I had created with me and my 4-year-old son, right? Which was a culture of fun, having fun, and being creative. And so I ended up attracting in these other agents that wanted to be a part of that wanted to participate in the videos. Well, it was so easy then for us to show our culture and invite more into that culture that we had created. And what's funny, like we've come full circle now on this podcast, because when I started it, I said, I'm always focusing on growth. That is my thing. I just am very motivated by growth, whether it's growth of my business or growth of my sales or helping other people grow their business and their sales. And I've learned now over this past decade of like, for me, my cup is way more filled if I'm growing by helping other people grow. Like for me, that I am so passionate about that. And the easiest way for me to do that is to invite people into things, invite people into other people's worlds. Look at how many names I've dropped on this podcast. And it's not because I'm a name dropper.
It's because you care about them and they're part of
I care about them and I network and I want other people to network and I want other people to grow and experience success, whether they have success by me pushing their name out somewhere or whether someone gets in alignment with somebody that they really needed to follow that could change their world. If you come at this from a place of abundance and of trying to help other people grow, instead of having that scarcity mindset that is just so common in our industry, fantastic, amazing things can happen and lives can be changed. And if nothing else, I had this conversation with this agent, a very well-known, established agent who's been in the business for years, has a giant social media following. And they said to me the other day, oh, I could never do what you're doing because I don't want to be a recruiter. And I just want to help my clients. I just want to focus on helping my clients because I'm so passionate about helping my clients and I'm passionate about helping the industry. And I had this aha moment with that conversation because I said, wait a second, you just told me you're really passionate about our industry. And I know she is. She's so passionate about our industry. Yes. And you're so passionate about your clients. Why? And she's like, because lives are changed when people are able to make these financial decisions. Lives are changed when you're able to get them to move from point A to point B. And I said, okay. But it means you're passionate about humans, right? You're passionate about people. And she's like, yes, of course, I'm so passionate about people. And I said, what if I could tell you that you could have so much greater of an impact on even more lives if you helped realtors help their people and you can 10x your impact and how much you're helping others that way. And all of a sudden she had an aha of what I am doing is not recruiting. Like I don't recruit at all. That is not a thing. What I do is try to help impact others through impacting their lives, impacting their growth, helping them with their marketing, which then in turn helps their clients to a much greater level.
That's right.
And
they can build their business better because of just mentorship or just, it's kind of like you're saying, being an evangelist, and that makes sense because if we go to a restaurant, or if I go to a restaurant that's amazing, I'm telling everybody about it because I'm so excited about it. If I find a good hairdresser, I don't have him anymore, but for years I was flying up to Minnesota for my hairdresser. I think that it's not recruiting. It's if you can't quit telling people about something that excites you, that's just evangelizing. It's something you're super excited about, and those that accept it and take it, great. And those that are like, I don't need a new hairdresser, that no skin off your back. But if they go and they have an amazing new haircut that like changes the way they feel about themselves, it does improve their life. So
gives them
I think that's how we all get excited about something. We want to share it. And I think that when you invite people to events, it's because it might impact whether or not brokerage, or again, brokerage agnostic, you just know that this event might actually impact their business. It might impact some of what they do in 2026. So you're super excited about it because most of the events that you go to are not to do with your brokerage. They're to do with particular event is really meaningful. And so
I always say I'm non-denominational when it comes to real estate, right? It's a funny joke, but it's the truth. I don't really care what brokerage people are at because the reality is people need to be where they feel like they're called.
They're happy.
And everybody will end up finding their tribe if they search for it. But what won't happen is if people just sit and stoop in loneliness on their own without doing any research or without looking outside of their own borders. And that is a lot of what I see out there in the real estate industry.
True.
Is people that are just at a brokerage because, it costs too much to get new signs. So I'm just going to be stuck here.
They complicate it.
Yeah.
Or
and
they don't, too many agents, I think, haven't at least tried a couple of different brokerages to know how different a culture can be. Because I've been in the business many years now. And so I've had multiple brokerages in my rearview mirror and I've loved every single place I've been.
Yeah.
But they all have pros, they all have cons. And I think that to be willing to evolve and try something just to test it out, you can always go back. You can always go back and be a lawyer again if you want to.
Yep.
You can always go back, and that broker, wherever you leave, will always take you back. You'll never get. That's what's unique about real estate is you're interviewing them. They're not interviewing you. So they will always, and probably they would love to take you back and say tail between your legs. I've gone
For sure.
back to an old brokerage after leaving and still loved it. I think that it's, anyway, we're getting off topic here, but
I think the whole point is try new things. If you're not willing to try new things, if you're not willing to take a little bit of a risk, bet on yourself, go for the thing that you're dreaming about or you're thinking about or you can't stop thinking about. If you're not willing to take that risk, then you're never going to know what the upside is on the other side of it.
That's right. Yeah. I am so grateful for all of your awesomeness. And I do love to ask my guests just this one question. I love to hear the creativity behind the answer. Sometimes it's more obvious than others, but if you were to move to a brand new market where you knew nobody, you had no sphere, no friends, no business, and had to start over again, what would be the first thing that you would do to get your first piece of business because you need to do it?
So I love working with other businesses. For me, that has been the biggest gold mine in my real estate career. And so what I would do is I would immediately join a chambers. Immediately. I would start going to all of those events. I would start getting to know all of the businesses that are active in that community. I would also join a church locally and start getting very active in groups that they have there to get to know the people. Because what I have just preached to you all is then once you do that and you get to know their businesses and stuff, you can promote them and that gives you immediate content that you can put out on your social network. And then they're going to share it with their social network because you're creating content for them. And it should only take a couple months from there to pick up. Now, if you're a newer agent, I also would probably try to find a community of realtors or a team to get involved with to be able to have opportunity to start paying the bills immediately. While that might take 6 to 9 months of going the business route to start seeing income coming in from.
Yeah. Awesome. Love that answer. Didn't expect that one too, but that's great. That's the beauty of you. I never know what to expect.
Everybody, because I post creative, crazy videos, everybody's, her answer is going to be like, go on Instagram and start networking that way.
That's a slow one. Yeah.
You need to have an audience. First, you have to build the audience that's going to follow along with you. And the best way to do it is to evangelize. Who's more passionate about content that you're going to make other than like small businesses that want to be featured, that want to be picked up? Like the best way to get an audience is to compliment other people.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Noelle. I so appreciate it. And I will hook in all your show notes and hopefully maybe find the links to some of those crazy videos for my editors to include.
I can help you with that.
Thanks for listening to Rewriting Real Estate. If today's episode challenged your thinking or gave you a strategy worth trying, share it. The right move at the right time can change everything. Subscribe and listen in next week for more insight, more momentum, and more ways to grow your business your way.